Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. WTA Grand Slam predictions for 2023. We're going to get into it. Before we do, though, remember to that like button and do subscribe if you are new to the channel as well. Also, if you're listening on a podcast platform, do leave a rating or review. It really does help us out. Thank you so much. And of course, shout out to our members for supporting the channel in an even greater way. We really, really do appreciate you. Okay, Grand Slam predictions for 2022 or 2023. Sorry, I'm stuck in 2022 apparently. Coming up. So, first of all, we're going to talk about the 2022 winners from the Grand Slams on the WTA Tour, and then I'll give you guys my predictions for the coming year, in addition to also my dark horses for each Grand Slam as well. So, in 2022, Iga Swiatek, of course, won 2 of the slams, winning Roland Garros and also the US Open. And sandwiched in between that was Rybakina winning Wimbledon. And at the start of the year, the Australian Open, Ash Barty won, who's now retired. So, 3 out of the 4 wins were by active players. Ash Barty, the Australian Open winner, of course, isn't looking like she's going to make a comeback. So we're going to see a new Australian Open champion. So it's all to play for. Of course, Australian Open not starting in too much. Well, it's not too long until it starts, which is going to be exciting. Okay. Last year was interesting in the fact that Swiatek, of course, won 2 of the slams, as I said. But at Wimbledon, I feel like it was very open, and that's exactly what ended up happening. Not just because Swiatek on grass is a different animal compared to on other surfaces. On hardcourt and on the clay, she is and was dominant throughout the whole year. On grass, she only played Wimbledon. She didn't play any tournaments before because she just won Roland Garros. So I think she wanted to give herself a rest. She came into that a bit cold in terms of any experience on the grass, and she hasn't played a lot of grass court tennis. I know she's a Wimbledon junior champion, but it's just so different to winning a tournament, within a couple of age groups to then playing on the senior tour. And I think the movement and the way that it plays was a shock to the system after playing at Roland Garros. And I do think she will win a Wimbledon in her career at least one. But I think it's going to take a bit of time in terms of her adaptability on the grass. And the biggest thing for me is her movement on the grass and mainly anticipating on the forehand side as well. So it will come, I think, no doubt. But I don't think it's going to happen in 2023. So spoiler alert, I guess, my predictions for Wimbledon 2023. The other theme was Ons Jabeur making 2 finals, of course. She made the final of Wimbledon and made the final of the US Open. She also was one of the favourites going into Roland Garros after having a really good clay court swing, but lost in the first round there, didn't play the Australian Open. And Rybakina winning Wimbledon, I think, was a big, big win for her. No points, which was disappointing for her, and that's why her ranking isn't as high as you probably would expect. But she will also go into this year expecting to push on and potentially win. Sabalenka at the back end of last year started finding her feet again, which is great, and her form, beating Swiatek in the WTA finals. She'll be dangerous and is good on all surfaces, but especially the quicker surfaces even, given her powerhouse game. And then there's a whole host of other players who can be very, very dangerous on the WTA tour, And that's what makes the WTA tour so exciting, because I feel like with the ATP, we've had the big 3 and they have dominated. It's been really exciting, and there are other players coming through. But for the WTA side, we've had Serena at a similar time to those guys. Not many others. Of course, Barty and Ash Swiatek and a couple of others kind of mixed in, but no one really dominated like Serena did. And generally, we've seen a lot of new winners. And I think there was a stat that 17 out of the last 20 slams being won by Nadal or Djokovic on the men's side. It's been open season on the women's side. Ash Barty only won a couple of slams. So she dominated generally, but not at the slams. She wasn't winning every single slam that she was playing, or winning, say, 3 or 4 in a year. That wasn't happening. So Let's see how we get on in 2023, but I imagine we'll probably see some new Grand Slam champions, which is what makes it really exciting. So let's get into the Australian Open predictions first then. It looks like we're going to have a pretty fit field, a fully fit field for, excuse the alliteration, but that to me means it's going to be really, really open. I think the draw is going to play a massive part. So it's very difficult to make predictions until the draw's out. And you'll probably notice as you can use these videos as reference, the ATP and WTA Grand Slam predictions. And most likely my predictions will change for at least some of the Grand Slams when I do my draw preview and prediction videos for the Slams, because the draw plays such a massive part, I feel. And the matchups between certain players and head-to-heads, and they are huge factors and need to be addressed as well and realized in terms of the effect that it can have on the outcome of these slams. But if I'm just going to take it generally and look at the field and look at who I think in terms of my gut who's going to win, there's a couple of people for the Australian Open. Of course, swiatek is the massive favourite, and in fact, what I'll do is I'll tell you guys what you thought, because I did a poll for not just the WTA but the ATP as well. I might put it on in a separate video or short. But for the Australian Open, let's see what you guys thought. So 61% of you went for swiatek, 8% Ons Jabeur, 10% Sabalenka, and 21% other. Now, of that 21%, I think people were thinking about Rybakina, Caroline Garcia, etc. I think if I had to hazard a guess and predict, I would say, swiatek, Jabeur, Sabalenka, Caroline Garcia, those four players for me are the four favourites. I think swiatek, of course, will be the overwhelming favourite. She hasn't won at the Australian Open, so she'll have a real hunger to win it. She's just won her first hardcourt slam and winning 3 Grand Slams in total now. So she will be hungry to win the Australian Open, no doubt. It's a quicker hardcourt than the US Open, though, is my only caveat to the notion that she's going to win it quite comfortably and dominate. I think she prefers a slightly slower surfaces. I think the quicker surfaces give the other girls on tour a better chance against her, that's for sure. Ons Jabeur seems to be a player who can play on all different types of surfaces. Now, I know her best tennis came at the US Open and Wimbledon. I mean, both pretty quick surfaces. Wimbledon quicker than the US Open. Roland Garros, she was one of the favourites, so she can play on all surfaces. The question is just going to be who she draws and if she's able to build up momentum at the Australian Open. Sabalenka has a massive game, so if she's able to rein in some of the double faults, she's always going to double fault at least a few times in a match. I don't think I've actually watched or seen a match that she's played where she hasn't hit one double fault. That's just part and parcel of the game. It's just about limiting that and then hopefully managing to hit a lot more in terms of proportion of aces and unreturnable serves. If she can hit a higher proportion of aces and unreturnables in comparison to double faults, then we're in business. And I mean a much bigger portion. We're talking about, maybe a ratio of 4 or 5 aces / unreturnables to double faults as a minimum. And if she's able to do that, then she's in a very good position. And Caroline Garcia, she is a player I feel that will thrive in fast conditions. And I do think she's going to be there or thereabouts at the Australian Open and Wimbledon especially. I think Roland Garros is maybe a bit too slow a surface for her. But she will look to step in, and on the return, she tries to take it as early as possible on the rise. She's well inside the baseline for most people's serves, on not just second serve, but first serves as well. She's aggressive. She likes coming forward and transitioning. She's an exciting player for sure. So those are the 4 players that I'm kind of contemplating. I'm actually going to go for Ons Jabeur now. This is a little bit of a bold prediction, I have to say, and I'll tell you why. Because even though she's made 2 slam finals in the last 2 Grand Slams of the year at Wimbledon and the US Open, she can be a little bit inconsistent and also a little bit unpredictable. And we saw that Roland Garros losing in the first round. I think it can go one of two ways. I think she would either fall early or I think she's going to make the final or potentially win it. Now, I'm going to go for her to win it because I am a massive fan of her game, and I do feel like her mentality has improved since the beginning of 2022. I think the fact that she only played 3 out of the 4 slams and made 2 finals to me is a massive step in the right direction. I think she's starting to really follow the game plan against players when she should be and less freestyling, which is good to see because I think clearly her coach has the right ideas when it comes to game plans, because she was saying after a few of the wins at the US Open that she had followed her coach's instructions, and when she followed her coach's instructions to the T, she ended up winning and winning comfortably as well. The example being Caroline Garcia in the semi-final of the US Open. In the final against Swiatek, she freestyled a little bit, you could tell, but Swiatek, of course, are very dominant throughout that part of the year anyway, throughout the year generally. So that wasn't a massive surprise, but she did have some success against Swiatek throughout that match. She's going to have to hope that she doesn't have to play Swiatek, because I think if she plays Swiatek, then she could be in a little bit of trouble. There will be a little bit of scar tissue there after the US Open final loss, and also the fact that Swiatek seems to have the upper hand against Jabeur in recent times. But against anyone else, I feel like she should have enough of a game. She could get blown away by, say, Sabalenka or Rybakina with massive games, or even an Anisimova, who I think is going to be really dangerous. But I'm going to go Ons Jabeur for the Australian Open to back up some of her great results at the end of 2022 and then push on and finally win a slam. And she would be the first African player from the WTA side to win a slam, which would be a momentous occasion as well. But Swiatek is the massive favourite, and I think a lot of people will be picking it, as you guys did, 61% to Swiatek. My underdog, though, is an interesting one, or my dark horse, and that's, well, might not be that interesting. That's Amanda Anisimova. I think we saw how good she is last year at some of the slams and even some of the bigger tournaments, and she is a phenomenal talent. She is young and very, very talented. A big game, and she seems to be continually improving. She's still very young, and the fact that she beat Osaka last year at the Australian Open, who was the reigning champion, was extremely impressive. So she is my underdog, or my dark horse even, for Australia. I think she's going to have a very, very good tournament, and I see her going pretty deep. Zheng Xinwen is another one, but she won't be my dark horse for the Australian Open. I think I have her in mind for another slam. So winner Ons Jabeur and dark horse Anisimova. Okay, so for Wimbledon is where it gets interesting, and I'm going to assume that Russians and Belarusians are all able to play. Rybakina is the reigning champion, of course, and Ons Jabeur was the finalist last year. And I actually think the winner at Wimbledon this year is going to be someone who wasn't able to play last year. I'm going to go Aryna Sabalenka. The 24-year-old has had some really good results at slams, making a lot of semi-finals. She probably should have made the semi-final of Wimbledon 2 years ago at 2021 and played Barty in the final instead of Pliskova. She was the favourite, had the better game, I think, and arguably the better player. Came out second best in the end. A little bit, I don't want to say she choked at all, but maybe faltered in some big moments. And I think she's going to set it right. And the only way, though, that I see her setting it right is there's 2 factors involved. There's quite big factors as well. I think she needs to stay relatively injury-free throughout the year. And I also think she can't afford... If she has a big dip in form, then I think that does affect her massively. I think she is a massive confidence player. And if she starts having massive issues on serve, especially, and she starts going through patches where she serves a lot of double faults, and she's like a lot of double faults, and is struggling to make a lot of first serves, or even an average proportion of first serves, then I think, we're then saying that she's going to struggle. But I'm going to assume that she's going to have a certain level of consistency this year, and throughout her whole game, and that she's going to go on to win Wimbledon. Rybakina will be there or thereabouts. I'll tell you that again, probably depending on the draw. I think Caroline Garcia will also go deep. Ons Jabeur could be similar. And I've just skipped Roland Garros for some reason, by the way, but I don't know why. But we'll talk about Wimbledon anyway. So Swiatek, I don't see winning Wimbledon, honestly. So yeah, Sabalenka is my winner for Wimbledon. We'll talk about Roland Garros in a second. Sabalenka is my winner for Wimbledon. Dark horse for Wimbledon is difficult, if I'm being honest, and I'm going to go Haddad Maya. I think she had a really good grass court swing before Wimbledon, and then ended up losing early. But I think she has all the tools to be successful on the grass. So hopefully she can kick on and add to her fantastic 2022 by going on and going deep at Wimbledon. Guys, I have a very exciting partnership and platform to talk about. TopLevelTennis.com or Top Level Tennis is a platform which I genuinely think is a fantastic platform for tennis players, casual to pro level standard. It has some incredible courses on here with technical advice from the basics to things that people would use in advanced match play. They actually reached out to me and said, look, would you be interested in talking about this? And I said, yeah, of course, because I had got login for it and I went on it, and you can see here there's people like Albert Castellani, Boris Becker, of course, winner of many Grand Slams, as they say there, Marco Panici, who's the fitness coach of Novak Djokovic, Wolfgang Thiem, father and coach of Dominic Thiem, and Dominika Kibalkova, who was a former number 4 WTA star and Australian Open finalist, on top of Rosela Radwanska, former 29 ranked WTA player and junior Wimbledon champ. And you can see here each expert has 10 episodes plus free access episodes. So you can actually use this platform for free if you want to just watch the standard definition video of these courses. So you could, for example, if you wanted to watch Boris Becker, you could watch his episodes, watch it in standard definition with ads. If you want to watch the premium version and you want to get access to it in HD without ads, you can sign up for the platform using the code QualityShot30, as you can see on the banner below, and you can get 30% off the course with that code, with that promo code. I don't get anything from it, by the way, so only do it if you personally enjoy watching it. I would suggest that you go onto the site, onto the website, you watch some of it and think, okay, am I going to get benefit from this? I watched the videos, for example, the Boris Becker ones, and I thought they were incredibly informative. And in HD and without ads, of course, it just adds a little bit of convenience and just watches better as well, doesn't it? They also have a YouTube channel as well, so do check that out and do subscribe to their channel for some little clips there as well. But I genuinely can't tell you enough, actually, how highly I rate this platform. I think it's a really good, a very, very good platform for people to expand their tennis knowledge, not just as players, but even just as avid tennis fans. So do check it out. It's topleveltennis.com. And as I said, the code below, if you use QualityShot30, you will get 30% off. Roland Garros then, which obviously we somehow missed for some reason, is an interesting one. And I think it's very hard to look away from Swiatek. Before we actually do go on to Swiatek, I have to talk about the Wimbledon poll that I put out. So 39% of you went for Swiatek, 23% Jabeur, 10% Sabalenka, and 28% others. So it just shows how random that, and maybe unsure some of you are about Wimbledon. And a lot of those others were talking about Caroline Garcia, Rybakina, Rybakina. So yeah, as I said, very, very random, but those are the three that I'm going to go for. In terms of Roland Garros, this is less random, and I think it's a bit more straightforward in the sense that, look, Swiatek is the massive favorite for that, no doubt, right? And I think a lot of you will agree. 77% of you actually went for Swiatek to win Roland Garros, 10% Jabeur, 1% Coco Gauff, and other 11%. Someone's saying definitely eager. Sheng Xin Wen. Yes, Sheng Xin Wen is actually my dark horse for Roland Garros 2023, and she had a very good match against Fiontek in the clay court swing, and I think she's got a good game on all surfaces. I think she's going to be an all court player, but I have a feeling she might make a breakthrough on the clay this year at Roland Garros and go relatively deep. Swiatek to win Roland Garros, though, I just don't see anyone getting close to her, honestly. And Jabeur in the Rome final, you could see, she played some good tennis, but Swiatek was just too strong. Coco Gauff made the final, of course, and then got steamrolled by Swiatek in the end. I don't see her I don't see her making the final this year, but she could go deep again. Ons Jabeur could also go deep as well, but again, don't see her beating Swiatek at Roland Garros anyway. And then there's some other players like Caroline Garcia, but I don't see Caroline Garcia doing anything at Roland Garros personally. Who else on clay? Sakari, potentially. Has a good clay quarter. And Krejcikova, of course, who had a good end to last year. But would she... I mean, I'd love to see Krejcikova versus Swiatek on any surface after Strava. I think it seems like a great matchup, but we shall see if we end up getting more of those matchups. So winner, Iga Swiatek, and dark horse, Sheng Xin Wen. So I've gone Australian Open in terms of winners. I've gone Jabeur to win the Australian Open, Swiatek to win Roland Garros, Sabalenka to win Wimbledon. Those are my three so far. US Open 2023 is interesting. 63% went for Swiatek. That's you guys went for Swiatek again. So interesting. And the reason why you might be thinking, hold on, Fazan's put a lot of like Swiatek and Jabeur in every single poll. And the reason why is because their results last year. And as I said, Jabeur made 2 of the finals from last year, but also was one of the favorites going into Roland Garros. And I think she's a contender at all the slams. Swiatek is the same in a different way. She's obviously a more strong contender, or a stronger contender even at these slams. So 63% for Swiatek, 63 is a big proportion, 12% for Jabeur, 4% for Bagel, who I put in there, and other was 21%. Winner, I'm going to have a quick think about. Dark horse, I'm going to go Bianca Andreescu, who has won the US Open in the past. So you could say, is she really an underdog, or a dark horse? But she is, because she has been in the wilderness a little bit. She's come back a little bit. She's top 50, but she's still not seeded. She may be seeded at the Australian Open, but it doesn't look likely, if I'm not mistaken. So most likely, she will play it, but she's not expected to go deep. So I think she can be classified as a dark horse. And she's starting to find a bit more form. So she came back actually from 6-love in her first set against Muguruza at the Adelaide tournament to win it. So in 3, which is ridiculous. So great win there. So yeah, Bianca Andreescu is my dark horse. In terms of the winner, it's difficult because I could go Swiatek again, but is it likely that she's going to win Roland Garros and US Open again 2 years running? Unlikely. She could win 2 or 3 slams this year. Like, that is not out of the realm of possibility. But I'm actually going to go Caroline Garcia to win the US Open. I think even though Australia and Wimbledon arguably are more suited to her game, I just have a feeling that she might be able to peak during the US Open period. And she made the semifinals last year, and I have a feeling she might have enough come the US Open swing. I think Swiatek will be there or thereabouts, and I think Bagel will be consistent as well. I even think Jabeur could go deeper. Sabalenka was there or thereabouts this year as well, made the semis, so don't sleep on her. And who knows, could someone like a Fernandez or a Raducanu kind of replicate their 2021 form at the US Open, maybe. But yeah, I'm going to go, and even I was going to say, who else? I mean, there's a lot of other players. Kvitova and Keys had a pretty good end to the season, so there's a lot of players potentially that could be dangerous. But yeah, I'm going to go Caroline Garcia to win it. So I've gone for Australia. I've gone Ons Jabeur to win Australia, and for Roland Garros, I've gone Swiatek to win. For Wimbledon, I've gone Sabalenka, and for the US Open, I've gone Caroline Garcia. So I've gone for different Grand Slam winners for each tournament. No one's winning more than one slam on the WTA side, is what I've done. Interesting. We'll see if that's the way it goes. That's normally been the theme on the WTA side for quite a few years, as of late anyway. And Swiatek broke that last year. I have a feeling we could have something similar again. So that's my predictions. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Of course, I'm sure a lot of you might disagree. And as I said, my views can change definitely when a draw preview comes out, or a draw comes out and then I do my preview and prediction video. So it remains to be seen what happens, but I'm very much looking forward to it. Thank you very much, guys, for your support. Do remember to leave a rating or review, and we'll leave you hopefully safe and sound. Have a great start to the year, and we'll see you very, very soon.